The red emergency lights flashed across the bridge of HS Defiant as Captain James Walker gripped the edges of his command chair. His knuckles turned white as another distress signal lit up the main screen. The human colony on New Haven was under attack, and their situation grew worse by the minute. "Sir, we're receiving multiple emergency broadcasts from the colony's defense fleet," reported Officer Mark from his communication station. The young man's voice trembled slightly as he continued. "They report massive casualties." The Dominion broke through their defensive line. Walker stood up, his tall frame casting a shadow across the dimly lit bridge. The Defiant wasn't supposed to be here. Their mission had been a simple patrol of the outer systems, testing the new ship's experimental systems. But now fate had placed them within jump range of humanity's largest outer colony, just as it faced its darkest hour. "Show me the battlefield," Walker ordered. The main screen shifted to display a tactical overview. His heart sank at the sight. Hundreds of angular Dominion warships pressed forward in their perfect formations, their energy weapons cutting through the scattered remains of the colonial fleet. The alien ships moved with mechanical precision, each maneuver calculated to maximum efficiency. "Atlas, analyze enemy fleet composition and give me combat odds," Walker commanded the ship's eye. A calm, neutral voice responded from the ship's speakers. The Dominion fleet consists of 342 combat vessels, including 3 Dreadnought-class command ships. Colonial defenders are down to 47 operational vessels. Based on standard combat algorithms, survival probability for the colony is 12.4%. Our intervention would raise this to approximately 17.8%. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The eye's calculations were precise, logical, and completely missed the point. That's why humanity still put people in command chairs instead of leaving everything to computers. "Lieutenant Reed, what's the status of our weapon systems?" Walker asked his weapons officer. "All systems primed and ready, sir. The new quantum torpedoes are untested in actual combat, but simulations show they'll punch through Dominion shields like paper." Reed's fingers danced across his console, already calculating firing solutions. In engineering, Chief Miller's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, the engines are running hot. Whatever you're planning, we can give you one, maybe 2 jumps at maximum power before we need to cool down." Walker nodded, though Miller couldn't see it. 1 jump would have to be enough. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his next decision. The Defiant was Earth's most advanced warship, packed with experimental technology that wasn't supposed to be revealed to the enemy. If they failed here, humanity would lose not just the colony, but also their greatest technological advantages in the ongoing war. But as Walker watched another colonial destroyer explode on the tactical display, he knew there was no real choice to make. They had to act. "All hands, battle stations," he announced, his voice steady and determined. "Plot a jump course right into their formation. We're going to show these aliens why humans don't play by their rulebook." The bridge crew snapped into action. Warning klaxons sounded throughout the ship as crew members secured stations and powered up combat systems. The deck plates hummed as the experimental jump drive spooled up to full power. "Sir," Atlas interjected, "Dominion tactical doctrine indicates they will expect us to emerge at a safe distance and engage from range. A jump directly into their formation violates all established naval combat protocols." "Exactly," Walker replied with a grim smile. "That's why it's going to work. Humans have a saying, Atlas. Sometimes the best move is the one that makes the least sense." The AI fell silent, its processors probably struggling to compute the logic of intentionally doing something illogical. But Walker knew what the machines didn't. Sometimes victory came from being unpredictable, from following your gut instead of the numbers. "Jump drive at full power," reported the helm officer. "Coordinates locked in." Walker settled back into his command chair, his voice clear and confident as he gave the order that would throw his ship into the heart of battle. "Take us in." The stars stretched into lines of light, and the HSS Defiant vanished into hyperspace, racing toward a battle that would prove why humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, but their ability to break every rule in the book. Reality snapped back into focus as the Defiant burst out of hyperspace. The bridge crew's stomachs lurched at the sudden transition. They emerged right in the middle of hell itself. An enormous Dominion warship loomed directly ahead, its silver hull gleaming with purple energy weapons. The alien crew never expected a human ship to appear so close. Their sensors were calibrated to detect ships jumping in from safe distances, not materializing practically on top of them. "Hard to port," Walker shouted. Reed's hands were already moving across the weapons console before the captain finished speaking. The Defiant rolled sideways, its experimental shield screaming as enemy fire scraped along their hull. But the impossible maneuver worked. They dodged the worst of the blast. "Multiple enemy ships adjusting formation," Atlas reported. "Their tactical computers are attempting to calculate our next move." Walker watched the massive alien fleet's reaction through the main viewport. The Dominion ships moved like a school of fish, their formations breaking and reforming with mechanical precision. But that precision was their weakness. They couldn't handle chaos. "Launch debris mines," Walker ordered. "Then take us into that asteroid field." Engineer Miller's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, those rocks are too dense. The nav computers can't plot a safe course through them." "Then turn them off," Walker replied. "Lieutenant Reed, your flying manual." Reed's eyes widened, but he nodded. The crew felt the ship shake as it released a cloud of small explosives disguised as debris. The Dominion ships began adjusting their course to avoid the apparent garbage, right until the mines detonated, creating a wall of electromagnetic interference. The Defiant plunged into the asteroid field. Reed's hands danced across the controls, guiding the massive warship between rocks that could crush them instantly. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his eyes remained focused. This was why humans still piloted ships. No computer would dare attempt what they were doing. "Sir," Officer Mark called out, "I'm picking up colonial distress signals. 3 civilian transport ships are trapped behind enemy lines." Walker studied the tactical display. The colonial ships were surrounded by Dominion cruisers, being herded toward the alien fleet's massive command ship. The aliens were so focused on their prize that they didn't notice the Defiant using the asteroids as cover to slip behind their lines. "Atlas, analyze the Dominion command ship. Find me a weak point," Walker ordered. The AI's response came quickly. Their shield geometry suggests a vulnerability where their main weapon connects to the power core. However, hitting that spot would require firing through their own formation. The shot is mathematically impossible. Walker smiled. "Good thing we don't believe in impossible." "Miller, how much power can you give the main gun?" "If I redirect power from life support on the lower decks, maybe 130%. He'll fry the circuits, though." "Do it." Walker turned to Reed. "Target that weak point. Wait for my signal." The Defiant emerged from the asteroid field like a phantom. The Dominion ships were slow to react, their tactical computers struggling to make sense of a vessel appearing from a direction their protocols said was impossible to navigate. "Sir," Atlas interjected, "I must point out that firing at this angle has a 98.7% chance of missing the target. The energy beam would need to curve around their own ships." Walker leaned forward in his chair. "That's why we're not firing an energy beam. Load the experimental quantum torpedoes." Understanding dawned on Reed's face. The quantum torpedoes didn't travel in straight lines. They phased through normal space in ways that defied conventional physics. The Dominion's defensive computers wouldn't know how to track them. "Colonial ships are in position," Mark reported. "They're ready on your mark." Walker took a deep breath. Everything hinged on this moment. "Tell them to cut their engines on my signal. Reed, fire when they go dark." The colonial ships suddenly killed their power, appearing dead in space. The Dominion ships hesitated, their perfect formation wavering for just a second. That's when Reed fired. The quantum torpedoes launched, their weird blue light twisting through space in impossible patterns. The Dominion ships fired too late, their shots passing through empty space where the torpedoes should have been, but weren't. The experimental weapons phased right through the alien formation and struck the command ship's weak point. A blinding explosion lit up space like a new sun. The massive command ship's perfect geometry crumbled as secondary explosions chained through its hull. And in that moment of chaos, the true battle was about to begin. The destruction of the Dominion command ships sent shockwaves through their fleet. The perfect formations began to break apart as the alien ships tried to adapt to a situation their battle computers had never predicted. Walker knew this was their chance, the moment when human instinct could overcome alien technology. Multiple ships approaching from 3 vectors, Atlas announced. The AI's voice carried a hint of concern that hadn't been there before. Their attack patterns are becoming irregular. Walker nodded grimly. The Dominion ships were switching to their backup protocols, making them more dangerous. Without their central command, they would fight like cornered animals. Reed, show them why humans are the most unpredictable fighters in the galaxy. The weapons officer's hands flew across his console. The Defiant's main guns roared to life, but instead of firing directly at the enemy ships, Reed targeted the nearby asteroids. The rocks exploded into clouds of debris, creating a chaotic field of shrapnel that the Dominion's targeting systems couldn't track properly. Engineering to bridge, Miller called out, her voice strained. Whatever you're planning, make it quick. The main gun's power coupling is about to melt. Sir, Officer Mark interrupted. The Colonial defense ships, they're following our lead. They're using our tactics. Walker watched as the remaining human ships began moving in ways that defied conventional space combat. They weaved through the debris field, using the chaos to their advantage. The Dominion ships fired repeatedly, but their shots passed through empty space as the human vessels moved in patterns that no computer could predict. Atlas, patch me through to all Colonial ships, Walker ordered. When the channel opened, he spoke clearly. This is Captain Walker. The enemy expects us to fight by their rules. Let's show them why that's a mistake. Follow our lead. No formation, no pattern. Hit them where they least expect it. The response was immediate. The Colonial ships broke apart, each captain using their own instincts to fight. Some darted between asteroids, using the rocks as shields. Others deliberately flew into the debris clouds, emerging at impossible angles to strike at the Dominion's flanks. Enemy ships are struggling to maintain their defensive screens, Atlas reported. Their targeting systems are operating at 47% efficiency due to environmental interference. Reed saw an opening and took it without waiting for orders. He fired a spread of conventional torpedoes, not at the enemy ships, but into a thick cluster of debris. The explosion sent thousands of superheated fragments in all directions. The Dominion's shields, calibrated for energy weapons and direct hits, couldn't adjust fast enough to the random patterns of the shrapnel. Miller, give me everything you've got, Walker commanded. Divert power from all non-essential systems. Already done, sir, she replied. Life support is minimal, but the engines are running at 140%. She won't take this abuse for long. The Defiant surged forward, its experimental engines pushing it to speeds that should have torn it apart. Walker felt the deck plates vibrate under his feet as the ship's structural integrity was tested to its limits. But he knew his ship would hold together, because it was built by humans who understood that sometimes you had to push beyond the supposed limits. Multiple hull breaches detected on enemy vessels, Atlas announced. Their formation is completely broken. However, I must point out that our current tactical position violates 73 different combat protocols. Walker actually laughed. That's the point. Atlas, the Dominion relies on protocols and patterns. We're winning because we're doing everything wrong by their standards. The battle had transformed into pure chaos, exactly the kind of fight humans excelled at. The Colonial ships darted through the debris field like schools of fish, striking at the confused Dominion vessels from unexpected angles. Each human captain fought their own way, creating a battle pattern so random that no tactical computer could predict it. "Sir," Reed called out, his voice tight with concentration as he lined up another impossible shot. "The remaining Dominion ships, they're starting to retreat." Walker watched through the main viewport as the alien vessels began pulling back. Their once perfect formation was now scattered, their mighty fleet reduced to individual ships trying to escape the chaos that humans had brought to their ordered universe. The bridge crew held their breath, watching as the last of the Dominion ships turned to flee. But everyone knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new kind of warfare, one where human unpredictability would prove to be the greatest weapon of all. Victory had come at a cost. The Defiant's hull groaned with stress as Miller worked to keep the engines from overloading. Smoke filled several decks, and warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. But they were still in the fight, and that was all that mattered. "Damage report," Walker called out, steadying himself as the ship shuddered beneath his feet. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, Mark responded, coughing through the thin smoke that had reached the bridge. "Emergency force fields are holding, but barely. Chief Miller says the main power core is running hot." Atlas's calm voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the retreating Dominion fleet. Their pattern suggests..." The AI paused, something it had never done before. "The pattern is unlike anything in my database." Walker leaned forward in his chair. "Show me." The main screen displayed a strange web of energy forming between the retreating Dominion ships. Their retreat wasn't random. They were positioning themselves for something big. "Sir," Reed called out from his weapons station, "I think they're linking their ship's power cores together. They're trying to create some kind of unified energy field." Miller's voice crackled over the comm, more urgent than before. "Captain, whatever they're doing, it's affecting our systems. The quantum drive is acting strange, like it's being pulled toward their energy web." Walker felt it too. A subtle vibration through the deck plates, different from the normal hum of the engines. The Dominion wasn't retreating. They were adapting, learning from human unpredictability, and creating something new. "Atlas, connect me to the neural interface," Walker ordered. The experimental system was their last resort, a direct link between human brain and ship's computer that Earth's scientists had reverse-engineered from captured Dominion technology. "Sir, the neural interface is untested in combat conditions," Atlas warned. "The strain could cause permanent neural damage. Better than letting the Dominion destroy everything we just fought to protect." Walker pressed his palm against the interface panel on his chair's armrest. Cold metal pins extended into his skin, connecting his nervous system directly to the ship's quantum core. The sensation was overwhelming. Walker's consciousness expanded, merging with the Defiance systems. He could feel every part of the ship as if it were his own body. The straining engines, the weakened hull, the weapons humming with power. Through the quantum sensors, he saw what the Dominion was creating. A massive energy net designed to trap and destroy human ships. "Miller," he called out, his voice strained as his mind processed both human and machine data. "Redirect power from life support to the quantum core. All of it." "But sir, that'll leave us with only 15 minutes of air." "We only need 5. Walker turned to Reed. "Load all remaining quantum torpedoes. When I give the word, fire them directly into the center of their energy web." The bridge crew worked frantically as the Dominion's trap grew larger. The colonial ships gathered behind the Defiant, following their lead one last time. Through the neural interface, Walker could feel the quantum drive resonating with the alien energy field. That's when he understood. "Atlas," he said, his mind racing with calculations no human could process alone. "The Dominion didn't just create a trap. They've made a quantum lens, and we're going to use it against them." The AI processed this for a millisecond. "Sir, if you're suggesting what I think, the chances of survival are minimal. Sometimes the best moves are the ones even we think are crazy." Walker opened a channel to all ships. All vessels, fall back to minimum safe distance. We're going to show the Dominion why copying human unpredictability without understanding it is a bad idea. The colonial ships retreated as the Defiant moved forward. Through the neural interface, Walker guided the ship's quantum core to sync with the enemy's energy web. Pain shot through his body as the connection deepened, but he held on. "Fire torpedoes," he ordered through gritted teeth. Reed launched the remaining weapons straight into the heart of the Dominion's trap. But instead of detonating, the torpedoes merged with the energy field, creating a reaction that no one, human or alien, had seen before. The universe seemed to hold its breath as quantum met quantum, and Walker prepared to show the Dominion the true meaning of human ingenuity. Time seemed to slow as the quantum torpedoes merged with the Dominion's energy web. Walker felt the reaction through the neural interface. It was like touching lightning with his mind. The alien trap wasn't just breaking down, it was transforming into something entirely new. "Energy readings are off the charts," Reed shouted over the groaning of the ship's hull. "The quantum reaction is creating some kind of cascade effect." Through the neural interface, Walker could see what was happening better than any sensor could show. The Dominion's energy web was collapsing inward, creating a swirling vortex of quantum energy. But instead of destroying everything it touched, it was opening holes in space itself, temporary gateways that flickered in and out of existence. "Miller, status," Walker called out, fighting through the pain of the neural connection. "Power core is at 180% and climbing." Her voice was barely audible over the sound of bursting pipes in engineering. "The quantum drive is pulling energy from the Dominion's collapsing web. I've never seen anything like it." Atlas's voice seemed to come from both the ship's speakers and inside Walker's mind. "Captain, the neural interface is showing dangerous levels of stress. Your brain patterns are becoming erratic." Walker ignored the warning. Through his merged consciousness with the ship, he could see the perfect way out. A path that no computer could calculate, that only human intuition merged with quantum technology could reveal. "All hands, brace for maneuver," he ordered. "Reed, rotate all shield power to the front arc. Miller, give me everything the engines have left. We're going through their own trap." "Through it?" Mark's voice cracked with disbelief. "Sir, those quantum gateways are unstable. We have no idea where they lead." "Trust me," Walker said, though the pain in his head was becoming unbearable. "The Dominion built this trap thinking they could predict how humans would react. Let's show them just how wrong they were." The Defiant surged forward, its engines screaming as they pushed far beyond their design limits. Through the viewport, the crew watched as quantum gateways bloomed and died like strange flowers made of light. The Dominion ships hung back, their tactical computers unable to process what their own trap had become. "Multiple gateway signatures ahead," Atlas reported. "Quantum readings suggest spatial displacement effects. Impact in 10 seconds. Walker's consciousness, split between human and machine, made calculations no normal mind could handle. He could see the pattern in the chaos, the one safe path through the quantum storm. His hands moved across the controls, guided by both instinct and impossible mathematics. 5 seconds to impact, Atlas counted down. 4, 3. The Defiant plunged into the heart of the quantum vortex. Reality twisted around them. Through the neural interface, Walker felt space itself bend and reshape. Warning lights flashed across every console as the ship's hull creaked under forces it was never designed to withstand. "Hull integrity failing," Miller shouted. "We're breaking apart. Reroute all remaining power to structural integrity." Walker commanded, his mind burning with the strain of processing quantum data through his human brain. "Keep us together for 3 more seconds." The ship shuddered violently. Sparks flew from damaged consoles, and the air itself seemed to ripple with quantum energy. But in that moment of chaos, Walker saw their escape route, a specific gateway that would put them right behind the Dominion fleet. With the last of his strength, Walker guided the Defiant through the chosen portal. There was a sensation like the whole universe turning inside out. And then they emerged behind the enemy fleet. The Dominion ships, their attention focused on their collapsing trap, never saw them coming. Through blurry vision, Walker saw their chance. "Fire everything we have left," he ordered, his voice weak but determined. "Right into their engines while their shields are down." Reed didn't hesitate. Every remaining weapon on the Defiant fired at once, striking the Dominion ships at their most vulnerable points. The aliens, caught completely off guard by a maneuver their computers had calculated as impossible, had no time to react. As explosions blossomed across the enemy fleet, Walker felt the neural interface beginning to shut down. His last thought, before consciousness faded, was that humanity's greatest strength had always been their ability to do the impossible, not through superior technology, but through the unique combination of human spirit and the willingness to take risks no machine would ever consider. Walker opened his eyes to a blurry world of flashing red lights and smoke. His head felt like it was splitting open, the aftermath of the neural interface connection. Around him, the bridge of the Defiant was in chaos, but somehow still functioning. "Captain's awake," Mark called out, his voice hoarse from the smoke. "Someone get the medical team up here." "No time," Walker said, pushing himself up in his chair. Each movement sent spikes of pain through his skull, but he forced himself to focus. "Status report." Reed spoke up from his damaged weapons station, where he worked with sparking wires hanging around him. "We hit them hard, sir. At least 12 Dominion ships destroyed. More damage. But," he paused, his face grim, "we're not in much better shape." Miller's voice crackled through a damaged speaker, almost unrecognizable through the static. "Main power is gone. We're running on emergency systems only. Hull breaches on multiple decks. I've got teams trying to contain the worst of it, but—" An explosion interrupted her, followed by shouts in the background. "We're losing this ship, piece by piece." Walker tried to stand but fell back into his chair as dizziness overwhelmed him. Through the viewport, he could see the remaining Dominion ships regrouping. They had been hurt badly, but there were still enough of them to finish off the Defiant in its weakened state. "Atlas," Walker called out, "give me ship status." The AI's voice came through with unusual static. "Multiple systems critical. Life support at 40% capacity. Weapons systems damage. Shield generators failing. Probability of survival in another engagement, 8.3%. "And the colony?" Walker asked, dreading the answer. "New Haven's orbital defenses are holding," Mark reported, managing a small smile. "The civilian ships we saved are safely behind their shield perimeter." "We did it, sir. We saved them." Walker nodded, but he knew the fight wasn't over. The Dominion ships were moving again, forming a new attack pattern. They had learned from their losses. Their formations were less rigid now, showing signs of adaptation. "Sir," Reed said quietly, "we have one quantum torpedo left. Just one. And the launcher is barely functioning." Miller's voice came back, weaker this time. "If we try to fire it, the power surge might tear apart what's left of our systems. We'd be dead in space." Walker looked around at his crew. They were exhausted, injured, but not beaten. Not yet. In their eyes, he saw the same determination that had gotten humanity this far, the unwillingness to give up, even against impossible odds. "Atlas," he said, "show me the enemy formation." The main screen flickered to life, showing the approaching Dominion ships. They were being cautious now, moving in an unpredictable pattern that almost mimicked human tactics. Almost, but not quite. "They're learning," Walker said, more to himself than the crew. "They're trying to think like us, but they're still doing it with computers, still trying to calculate chaos." A plan formed in his mind. It was crazy, possibly suicidal, but those kinds of plans had worked for them so far. "Miller," he called out, "can you give the engines one more burst? Just enough for a short burn. Maybe. If we shut down everything else, including life support, We have about 2 minutes of air. That's all we need. Walker turned to Reed. Get that last torpedo ready. We're going to do something really human. Sir, Reed looked confused. We're going to play dead. Walker managed a pained smile. Atlas, shut down all systems except minimal life support and internal communications. Make it look like that last fight finished us off. Understanding dawned on the crew's faces. The Dominion's computers would expect a damaged human ship to either retreat or fight to the last. They wouldn't expect this. As the Defiant systems went dark one by one, Walker watched the enemy ships approach through the dimming viewport. In space, no one could tell the difference between a dead ship and one playing dead, not until it was too late. Hold positions, he whispered, though the approaching Dominion fleet couldn't hear him. Just a little closer. Come see what your computers tell you is a wreck, and learn one last lesson about human deception. In the darkness of the powered-down bridge, Walker and his crew waited silently, preparing to show the aliens that even a dying human ship was more dangerous than any calculation could predict. The bridge of the Defiant was dark and silent except for the crew's quiet breathing. In the dim emergency lighting, Walker watched through the viewport as 3 Dominion warships approached their apparently lifeless vessel. The aliens were being cautious, but their computers had already classified the Defiant as a wreck. No power readings, no active shields, no weapons signature. They're entering optimal range, Reed whispered, his hand hovering over the weapons console. The panel was dark, but Walker knew their last quantum torpedo was ready. Miller's voice came through their emergency comms, barely above a whisper. Power cells are charged. We'll have enough juice for one burst when you give the word. The closest Dominion ship was now less than a kilometer away. Through the neural interface's residual connection, Walker could almost feel their scanning beams passing through the Defiant's hull, checking for any signs of life. Steady, he breathed. Let them think they've won. Let them get closer. Atlas's voice came through their personal communicators, volume reduced to minimum. Enemy vessels are initiating docking procedures. Their tactics suggest they intend to capture this ship for study. That was exactly what Walker had hoped for. The Dominion's curiosity about human unpredictability would be their undoing. He watched as the lead ship extended its docking arms, reaching for the Defiant's hull like a predator about to grasp its prey. Now, Walker commanded. The bridge exploded into action. Power surged through the ship's systems as Miller diverted every remaining bit of energy to their final attack. The Defiant's dark hull suddenly blazed with light, catching the Dominion ships completely off guard. Fire torpedo, Walker ordered. Reed's fingers flew across his console. Their last quantum torpedo launched, but not at the enemy ships. Instead, it shot straight up into seemingly empty space. Atlas, execute Program Omega, Walker called out. The AI didn't hesitate. Hidden maneuvering thrusters fired, spinning the Defiant on its axis. At the same time, the quantum torpedo detonated, creating a miniature version of the reality warping field they'd encountered earlier. The Dominion ships tried to react, but their computers were still processing the sudden change from dead target to active threat. That split second of confusion was all the humans needed. Hold on to something, Walker shouted as he engaged the engines. The Defiant shot forward, straight toward the nearest Dominion vessel. But at the last moment, the quantum field from their torpedo wrapped around them like a bubble of bent space. Instead of colliding, the Defiant seemed to pass through the enemy ship like a ghost. The quantum field temporarily shifted them partially out of normal spacetime, letting them phase through solid matter for just a fraction of a second. The effect on the Dominion ship was catastrophic. The quantum wake of their passage disrupted its power core, causing a chain reaction of explosions along its hull. The alien vessel began breaking apart, its perfect geometric shape dissolving into chaos. 2 more incoming, Mark called out. They're charging weapons. But Walker wasn't done. As the Defiant emerged from its quantum shift, he ordered, "Miller, give me ramming speed." "Sir, the hull can't take another quantum phase," she protested. "We're not going to phase this time," Walker said with a grim smile. "Sometimes the oldest tricks are the best ones." The Defiant's engines roared one last time as they charged straight at the second Dominion ship. The alien vessel tried to dodge, its computers calculating trajectories and evasion patterns, but they didn't account for the simple fact that humans would be crazy enough to actually ram their ship into another vessel. The impact was tremendous. The Defiant's reinforced bow crumpled but held, while the Dominion ship's more elegant design shattered under the brutal, primitive attack. The third alien vessel, faced with a tactic that defied all logical combat protocols, began to retreat. "Send a message to the colony," Walker ordered, even as warning lights flashed across every console. "Tell them the path is clear. And send everything we've learned about fighting the Dominion to Earth. They need to know that sometimes the best way to beat superior technology is to do something completely insane." As the last Dominion ship disappeared into hyperspace, Walker looked at his battered bridge and exhausted crew. They had won not through better technology or stronger weapons, but through the uniquely human ability to be unpredictable, to take impossible risks, and to never, ever give up. "Take us home," he ordered softly. The Defiant limped toward New Haven's welcoming lights, having proved once and for all that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships or their guns, but their unshakable spirit and their ability to do the unexpected.